Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
the Lodgecast experience.
Warning, warning, dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
Hello once again and welcome to Lockdown Hot Takes. I'm your Lodge Master. With me as always is Brother Bishki. Brother Lucas on lockdown.
Day 50, whatever.
And you know him, you love him. It's Brother Nathan.
What's up, guys? Great to be here with you in quarantine.
Welcome.
Oh my God. I say it so often, but what the fuck did we get ourselves into with this one, guys? What did we do? What have we done? What have we done? Oh my God.
Yeah, what have we done here with this?
The movie is Capone, formerly known as Fonzo, written, directed, and edited by Josh Trank.
Josh Trank joint.
It's a Josh Trank joint. He
Through and
is the
through.
auteur behind such films as Chronicle and Fantastic Four. Now, what is everybody's history with the Trankster?
No history.
Bishki's on zero.
Bishki's on
This is-
zero.
this is
I think
my-
he's
we all-
on
I mean,
Capone only.
This
We
is
saw
my one and
Chronicle.
only Trank, yeah.
Chronicle is like better than it should be. It's like a 3-bone indie that inspired so many found footage movies after that. And I mean, I think it's really slick. I watched it about a year ago and it holds up
Sure.
completely. Never seen
Sure.
Fantastic.
I did see Fantastic Four in the theater because, you know, I was like, that was pre-Lodgecast days. But I still had that curiosity, you know, like everybody was shitting on it. It was instantly notorious. I went to see it like late in its run, and it was just me and one other guy. And the other guy, I was like, who is this other guy? He quickly revealed himself to be completely insane. He got up and just walked around the theater, paced
Just an
around the
insane
theater.
person in the theater. Yeah.
Yes, he was in he was in and out the whole time. And the movie I thought was pretty good. I was like, it's one of those movies where you're like, you know, what the fuck? You know, why is everybody's panties in a bunch? Like this movie's fine. This movie's entertaining. It'll be often like what Lucas will do if he's revisiting an old film that has a bad reputation. He'll be like, oh, this is actually 4 bones. Look at it. Cinematography's
It's 4 bones.
great.
It didn't go with the times.
Without fail, it'll nosedive. It'll nosedive hard. And that's what Fantastic Four did. So by the end, you're just a wet noodle of confusion. You're wondering what the fuck happened. And infamously, they took the cut away from Mr. Trank and he torpedoed his own movie on Twitter. He said, basically, you know,
I hate this shit. Yeah.
I used to have a good cut of this. That's not what you're going to see. Good luck. And holy shit, like, who does that?
It's not how you play
Yeah.
the
Who
game.
does that?
So there must have been a slew of films that he turned down before he got to Fantastic Four, because he probably got offered everything after Chronicle.
Mhm.
You know, he could have sat on it for a year and got like Spielberg's calling it, like everybody's calling it, whatever it was.
And then he was set to do a standalone Boba Fett movie, which, due to all the problems on the production of Fantastic Four, he lost that. So Capone is really a comeback movie in a lot of ways, and that's what people are billing it as. It's like, this is his big return.
That's the story. Yeah, that they've been spinning it here.
With all due respect, it's like, if you have something to prove, why are you making this movie?
Yeah.
Why are you making a movie about the last year of Al Capone's life when he's riddled with neurosyphilis, losing his mind?
Yeah.
Like, that's the big crowd pleaser that's going to bring them all back? Like, if anything, that's the fuck you movie after you've completely reestablished yourself. But anyway,
Oh, it's definitely
I
a fuck you
digress.
movie. I mean, it can't be. It's so strange that it's his next one after why the last year of Al Capone, you know, and why a very non-filmed story. I mean, this was pretty gutsy to do this fucking movie.
Now, the listeners are waiting with bated breath, as am I. Lucas, what was your mindset going into this film? I want to treat you delicately here because I don't want to give too much away. but I think I know generally where you're going with this one.
The mindset I had going in was Vertical Entertainment is the distributor who released this film. And I never heard them before. So I looked them up, and it's a distribution company that's been around since 2012. And they've distributed like a dozen, if not 3 or 4 dozen titles, none of which I have recognized except for the recent Jacob's Ladder remake, which I don't even remember getting a theatrical release, but maybe it did.
It came out briefly.
It played a few screens,
So I assume you don't even recognize that remake. You don't even.
I don't even acknowledge
it.
But I thought that was very telling because right off the bat, I was like, yes, I know who Tom Hardy is, but would this have gotten a theatrical release in before times, like before COVID, or would this have gone straight to VOD? Because there's really not much to it, right? Like what you see is what you get.
Well, speaking of VOD, the production companies at the top, we got Redbox Entertainment.
Oh, that was the red flag.
Foremost.
That's what I was
Redbox.
like. Wait a second, Redbox.
Direct to Redbox.
There's always tons of opening.
Lawrence motherfucking Bender,
Larry Bender
of Pulp Fiction fame. So you got a lot of weird fingers in this pie, and it's all in service of, like I said, a syphilitic old man raging at his demons.
A methodically made character piece. I think number one, Capone, the title, I can see why they chose it. It's much more grabs everybody, and you think it's going to be a rip roaring Tommy gun gangster crime epic. That's probably what you think with Capone, like definitive, right?
With Fonzo, you would have conjured up images of both
the Fonz
and Fozzie Bear and Gonzo. So that's all outside the wheelhouse.
But you can see that title speaks to it being, something that would probably have been more unseen or quieter, and that speaks to represents the film a lot better than Capone. You know what I mean?
Capone, like it's the be all end all.
Like Gotti.
It is very much like Gotti in many ways, but. Just at the outset here, I gotta summon the Salad Dragon.
Oh. Right off the bat. Oh man, I love this.
The Salad Dragon. A scene in a movie that is so bizarre, baffling, or transcendent that it instantly justifies the price of admission. Or Reese Witherspoon's leafy transformation in A Wrinkle in Time.
I mean, this movie is a hive of dragons. It's a salad bar bursting at the seams. It's got all the fixins. Whether or not that's a good thing this time around remains to be seen. But
it's definitely held together by Salad Dragon.
It is held together.
Like it's weaved. Like wicker.
The tendons that hold its bones together are made of leafy green salad. Pretty much every scene has got something super fucked up to it.
Well, every scene with Tom Hardy is good.
I mean,
he's
Tom
in
Hardy,
almost everything.
Immediately, his makeup reminded me of Dan Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble.
And that's
if you don't know about Dan Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble, very gently Google that and see what I'm talking about.
So gross. Many coughs, bloodshot eyes, chomping on cigars.
He is disgusting. He is disgusting in this movie.
His voice is like, it took me a while to pin it down, but it sounds like Harvey Fierstein, the Penguin, and Ernest P. Worrell.
For me, it was he looked and sounded like
Ernest P. Worrell,
like a Dick Tracy villain as played by 2020 Nick Nolte.
Oh, there's Dick Tracy vibes there for real.
Dick Tracy, Nick Nolte voice.
I was like Frankenstein meets Brando at the end of Apocalypse Now.
He was like Heath Ledger's Joker stepfather, you know.
Oh, you mentioned the Penguin. I mean, Burgess Meredith Penguin, you know.
Yeah.
Any of these fine people were mentioning step on their windpipe and you have what he was going for.
He has a lot of nonverbal grunting in this, and it's fabulous.
Let's talk about Brando a little bit. The Brando thing is right on cue. When they take old Fonzo out for a day of fishing, he puts on almost the exact same outfit as Brando wears in The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah. I thought about that. Yeah.
He looks just like him.
Brando, Island Brando. Yeah.
Try to get that still for the thumbnail, because that was amazing.
When I saw the first cut, that the whole fishing scene wasn't in there, so that was like a juicy bonus where they go shotgun
there's
fishing.
There's a Serenity-esque fishing scene with Matt Dillon, who may or may not be a ghost, but probably is.
Yeah, who is Matt Dillon in this? I
think the editing does his character just like cuts it up to ribbons, because they show him and they introduce him in a scene where Capone isn't there. He's like doing a secretary. You guys remember that one of the only sex scenes in the movie? Or a couple sex.
They introduce him mid doggy coitus.
Yeah.
Mid doggy coitus, and then they cut to him, drinking out with Capone, and the wife obviously comes and checks on him, and we see from her point of view that he's not there. So the thing goes back and forth with that.
Like, is he real? Is he not? Like,
the real and the fantasy blends.
The lodge mistress was watching it with me, and she's like, so was the sex part of Capone's fever dream? Like, why would we see ghosts in movies or like apparitions? We don't usually see them in scenes that don't involve the crazy person who's dreaming them.
We never see him get a call and say, "Hey, I'm coming over." You get called and summoned. You never see that.
Very strange.
I thought about that too, and it stuck out. We're coming out the same thing, but it's like that stuck out too. It's like, why have him set up that way? At
any rate, they end up on a boat, very Serenity-esque, and
Serenity has
Fonzo gets a bite. It pulls his fishing rod into the water. He sees that it's an alligator.
Yeah,
and he takes out a shotgun and just blasts the thing to shit. And
is it worth it? He yells, "Is it worth it?" So he gets like a prize fish, and then the gator steals it from him, and he's like, "You son of a bitch!"
And I wrote this down. Matt Dillon says, "Hey, Fonzo, you want to go back to prison over a fucking swamp animal?"
Yeah,
I don't
think Matt Dillon's ever there. I don't think he's ever a real person.
Well, I've read some breakdowns of this, and
have you?
Supposedly, some people think that he's a composite of all the people that Capone killed, that is kind of made into one person.
Yeah,
I don't know if I believe that.
He's definitely a face of a victim. I mean, they cut to him, and he's the guy in the chair getting stabbed in the very brutal, dream sequence. That first dream sequence is pretty awesome. I want to hear you guys talk about him going down to the basement.
The whole thing, like, you have to really get in the right mindset for this. I don't know if there is a quote unquote right mindset, but like the lodge mistress was trying to watch it, and she's like, the filmmakers really don't care about keeping an audience even remotely invested in this. Mm-hmm. And I said, you're correct, because what this is what I think this is just a nightmarish fever dream. And that's all you're going to get. Like, it's just dream logic. There's a little bit of Twin Peaks dream logic in it. There's a whole lot of Shining kind of madness logic in it. And it all boils down to whatever the fuck this is. I don't know.
But sometimes it's just Tom Hardy kind of twitching in a chair, acting paranoid, and it's not a fever. It's just kind of him.
Sometimes
just
it's
kind
really
of
happening.
Reality. Yeah.
Sometimes there's just not much going on except for Hardy grunting and chewing on a cigar.
And in the scenes that aren't fever dreams,
and shitting
He's
himself.
usually shitting his pants.
Yeah.
Twice. He shits himself twice in the first 20 minutes. I clocked
He
it.
soils himself 3 times total in the film. I mean, that's really the one note reviews that a lot of people are having. It should have been on the poster. Yeah, him with the diaper.
They don't
at the
shy
end.
away from it.
Yeah,
they don't shy away from it either.
The poster should have been that bed shot where his wife, it's like The Godfather, but like instead of a horse head, it's just like a big pile of shit.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh.
It should be like a horse head shaped pile of shit.
And he's looking like Travis Walton from Fire in the Sky, like just totally traumatized and shell shocked from the nocturnal bowel movement.
And we're being all in quarantine. We don't get to see like scenes like that with an audience. I would have loved
see with an audience.
a prime time. Maybe the second shitting, the one where he's interviewed and he answers by just sharting.
He just leans into that.
Yeah.
You see his face and everybody's wondering what he's doing. He's just he screws up his face a little bit. And then you just hear that soft burbling shit coming out. And Trank is in that scene, by the way.
Trank is one of the...
really?
He's kicking over the reel-to-reel.
Trank doing a cameo. There's a guy that looks just like E from Entourage, and there's comedian Neil Brennan for some fucking reason. They're all interviewing him, and he takes a big shit, and everybody plugs their nose, and that's the scene. So this movie is very, very special. Like there's not another
nothing
movie
like this.
Yeah. Early on, I was like, did they have enough money to flash back? Because I thought this was going to be like a little more of a conventional biopic. But pretty soon I realized like they ain't flashing back to anything. Like this...
Well, we have that one big, looks like a New Year's Eve party with Louis Armstrong playing.
This is not the life of Capone. This is like the last year with some hallucinations.
Yeah,
it's very a narrowed focus to that part of it. Yeah, part of his life.
Yeah, and I think the whole budget went to Tom Hardy pretty much because it's a one location shoot.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, Lucas, you're staying very quiet on this. What?
It's a woof for y'all, Lucas. Get your woof out in the open, you dog.
We all know he's gonna woof so hard, but let's tiptoe through this. Lucas, is there any love and light that you were feeling during this?
Oh man, this was another dark.
It was exposed properly.
Yeah, it was too dark. I couldn't see anything.
What is this? Too dark?
You watched it during the day.
Corridors and rooms and right from the get-go, he's seeing things, right?
Yeah.
Like the opening title legend is like, this is the final year of the neurosyphilis mind.
Neurosyphilis.
Like, behold its wrath and its indifference to your power and memories. And yeah, like the lodge mistress is correct in that there's really nothing keeping you engaged. You have to really love Capone, I guess. This is like a movie made for those fathers that love gangsters.
Think about the dads. Think about the dads that are going to rent this. Think
of the Irishman crowd. Think, yeah,
It is like renting like gangbusters, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
Dads are renting this. They're slurping it up.
Yeah.
But what are they like? How many naps are gonna be had during this movie? Like,
this ain't the
isn't pleasing
Untouchables.
anyone.
Yeah, it's a glorified short. I mean, there's just not enough. There's not enough meat on the bone. There's no hook to hang your hat on. It's a vanity project, and I think Mr. Trank should consider himself very fortunate and lucky that Tom Hardy said yes to this, because he was just appealing off his basest, instincts of playing this character. And it was like every scene was the audition scene, and it just felt like a parody.
Every one of them.
Yeah, and whenever he talked, it was like, what time is it in Ohio? And it's like,
That's not really an exaggeration either.
I think it's going to split. It's going to split our listeners.
There are these random phone calls from his illegitimate son Tony that are supposed to be like super weighty and heavy, but they're super confusing. And I'm like, is that the guy who gave him syphilis? Like, I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I had no idea what with the Anthony the son, if that is real or fake, or why that was kind of important. I mean, you can load it how underwritten it is. You can kind of put your own thought into what he means, that boy. Like, I don't know. it was obtuse. Like, I wasn't sure why that was important.
They did make a couple overtures at a plot because it seems that old Fonzo may or may not have buried $10 million somewhere.
That's a MacGuffin.
So pretty much any dialogue that anybody has about anything is about trying to get to that money.
Yeah, that's the unresolved plot that just never gets resolved.
Goes nowhere. The final scroll at the end says nobody found any money.
There should have been a that money was never found.
Where like Kyle MacLachlan is like digging up like a treasure chest that you think the money is in, but when he opens it, it's just like shit. It's just like Capone shit.
Kyle MacLachlan hits another strange career point by playing Capone's doctor, who brings him his diapers.
He's in it.
He's a diaper delivery man that's looking for the money.
He has 3 scenes. He just checks in with the wife. He's there. He makes Capone do drawings. One was of Anthony and one was of a platypus.
Like, it is so silly. This movie is so silly. He's like, okay, Fonzo, what do you want to draw next? They've taken away his cigars, so now he just chomps on giant carrots. Which is hilarious to look at.
That is,
but he's trying to coax out where the location of this money is. So he's like, what would you like to draw next? And he holds up 2 photos, one of a platypus and one of a big sack of cash.
He already drew the platypus, Capone, and he puts it away. And
he finally draws the cash, but it doesn't go anywhere.
I love that he was in a scene with Kyle there and he said, draw this for me. And then we cut to a later scene and he's still drawing. He was putting in some more work on it. It was great.
Oh my God. And then, I mean, it's just Salad Dragon after Salad Dragon. We got the Louis Armstrong Blueberry Hill cameo. We got a poor unfortunate soul getting stabbed in the neck about 40 times. So anyone who hasn't turned it off by then, you're turning it off. Like, it's so fucking foul. And then Capone's always making the stink eye at this groundskeeper. And he finally decides enough's enough. The groundskeeper's approaching him from behind. It looks like Capone's masturbating. But what he's really doing is loading a golden Tommy gun.
Gold-plated Tommy gun.
He turns around and just goes on a rampage all over his property, just shooting people, shooting the Tommy gun.
It's Tony Montana, totally. Like,
it's totally Tony Montana
walking
on a
around
budget.
with a diaper and that carrot in his mouth. I mean, that is a walking salad dragon.
He goes down to his pond. You think the salad dragon's over. He goes down to his pond and he remembers like some ghost flapper told him to dig where it's wet. So he looks at his pond. He jumps into the pond. Suddenly an alligator is between his legs about to chomp his dick off, and then out of nowhere a giant digi tsunami hits the pond. There's a huge like 50-foot wave.
It recedes perfect storm style.
And then he wakes up in like Ireland or something.
He's swirling in a whirlpool full of cash under the water. And then he wakes up bald, younger, looking exactly like Brando as Colonel Kurtz.
Oh, hell yeah.
In like the Italian countryside.
Well, he went into the painting, like that painting that he was looking at throughout the film.
That's what it was,
it's the shores of it, and then the balloons. The imagery. You were talking about Twin Peaks. There's imagery with this thing. Well, he's just sitting in a bed dying, so he's looking at the paintings, and like the point. Think of the point of view, guys. He's shitting himself. And the waves are like just him, his bowels exploding. Think about it.
The kid keeps showing up with the balloon out of Stephen King's It, and he just
everything was trying.
It's a gold balloon.
I think everything was trying to be tied to something. I mean, the gold flapper that he's having sex with that was Anthony's mother, and they're tying, and then Anthony's out in the street. Where is he? There's this thing about this lost childhood or lost innocence.
This is your second time seeing this, correct, Nathan?
Yeah, and this was believe it or not, the second one was tighter, and it had. I saw the one with Fonzo on.
Well, let's confront why. Yeah. Nate.
Yeah, why?
Brother Nathan had the finish on this poster, which is
I'm
outstanding.
Part of this campaign, whether I like it or not.
Stunning poster.
Movie, yeah.
Outstanding poster. Can you give us any juicy details into the making of the poster?
the nutshell of it is that Tom is a very creative person. Like, so when you get involved with a project,
No shit.
like he's involved with every aspect of it. So there was a long leash. I think early this film has been trying to find distribution or what it's going to do. And then it came to our company and I got to work on it and they had a lot of ideas about what it was going to be. And so the poster was a very different thing. You know, some of it was him with a carrot and whatever, you know, like they were like the worst ideas ever. And trying to sell this kind of like demographic that we're trying to hit with Gotti or whatnot. But so when it was in a final hour and our boy Tom had a creative outburst and he really wanted this one idea to, you know, meet the audience first. So the idea of him, you know, his brain coming apart or something that isn't just this action film that we're going to do. So he had an idea, a strong way to do it, and Trank backed it up, and we have what we have. But I think it added to the mystery of what this movie was going to be. You know, it's fun.
Yes.
It's I can't believe that they chose like kind of like that idea and they went how classic it is. But you know, what we have, I mean, there's nothing super juicy other than Tom is very creative and he wants to, you know, give us 100 pieces of scrap or whatever he wanted to do to get this thing to look the way that he wanted it to look.
Well, but the poster is 4 bones.
It seems like a very handmade movie. You know, it seems like everything about it is quiet. And I don't know why it was released as a big Capone, you know, kind of movie. So I think, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
The poster is definitely 4 bones. We can all agree on that.
Yes.
Although this alternate Godfather shit horsehead idea is also maybe 3.5 bones for that one. And I think Tom Hardy would probably be on board with that.
I think
with how crazy he is.
I love that it's just ugly forward, you know, those scars and the makeup. I mean, everything about it. He wanted to probably release something with those bloodshot eyes and just something that's just a Cronenbergian body horror. I mean, there's a lot of body horror in this movie as well.
Oh, it's all body horror.
The open sores on his face, and it does progress us through time. It just gets worse and worse. We see him once as young Capone, young, you know, butterball.
He sees
Capone.
himself in the mirror, yeah. But it ends just like it began at a group family dinner celebration. I think it's Thanksgiving. His estranged son, Tony, shows up, or does he? I don't know.
Does he?
Is
ever?
he real?
I don't know.
They hold hands, and Fonzo finally dies. And I can't believe they didn't have him shit himself one more time.
I think it fade to black, and then just that shart sound over there.
Yeah.
People are going to be talking about just the defecating and all this. Yeah.
It's nuts. Let's go to them Fonzo bones.
Fonzo. Get Lucas out of the way.
All right. Yeah, Lucas, let's get you out of the way first. I feel
Let me set the table.
you're not going to shock the world with this one.
Yeah, one of the notes I took, I said the film should have ended when he shit the bed. Just cut to the end title, you know, Capone.
With some kazoo music.
A film by Josh Trank. But I think, you know, in order for this concept to have worked, you would have needed like, you know, instead of Tom Hardy, like John Travolta, and instead of like syphilis, like
why not?
He's just a corpse. Like he's just dead. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, you know, meets Gotti, except you call it, you know, Capone, where they're like using his corpse to find the money.
That's how you make it slower. Yeah, like a step slower.
Because I don't know who this movie's for besides Tom Hardy. You know, this isn't for anybody but Tom Hardy. So I have to give this a woof. This I found like there it is, and just like a circle jerk, and like nothing's real. It doesn't matter what's happening because he's dying of syphilis anyway. And I thought, you know, if you were to make a Capone movie like an actor like Oscar grab, you would have to have it with him going to prison, right? The transition from Chicago crime lord gangster to just a number in a cell who has to like eat the same food as everybody else in the mess hall, and then showing his brain slowly deteriorate where he like starts losing his mind and gets released. Like, I don't think showing the aftermath of that is interesting, or like his final year is interesting, because you're right. It's like one note and repetitive, and like the buried money thing is so half-hearted and embarrassing.
They never found the money.
Yeah, of course they didn't.
All right. A woof from Lucas. Big reveal there. Brother Bishke, what is going on in your world? You just saw this.
I just came off this.
Fresh.
I tell you, this was a comedy. I was laughing throughout.
There were a few points where I'm like, Bishke's gonna love that. Bishke's smiling during that.
You were correct in those feelings. When last we checked in with Tom Hardy, it was in Venom.
Venom was like 2 years ago.
I like Tom Hardy.
This was the Venom crew too, Nathan. You were on the Venom.
Christ, I was, Venom. I got to give it more than Venom.
You're the Tom Hardy go-to lodger.
Yes, yeah, but we're back with Tom Hardy. I like the guy, but there's no plot here. This is just.
What about the money?
A stunt
They're
performance.
looking for the money.
I was waiting for the money plot to advance in any way whatsoever, but it did not. I thought like when they went into the Blueberry Hill sequence, I was like, because it goes into like these flappers and it's like like Louis Armstrong, and then it goes into this torture killing, and I was like, well, maybe this will be the rest of the movie, and it's just going to be his descent into madness. Like that's
I thought so too.
That's a movie,
you can't
just constant salad dragons, but then it goes back to kind of reality where he's just kind of paranoid and looking around and
he shits the bed
and he shits again and
calls 911,
and then it just fizzles out. It's definitely a one bone, but Hardy was making me laugh so much. It gets a quarantine bump to 1.5 for me.
Love it. Brother Nathan, what do you got cooking up?
Well,
you've seen this twice now, and you've looked at his
I've
fucking
lived
face.
I'm
so
swimming
long.
around in its backwash. I think, I'm a Tom Hardy fan too. I'm not gonna lie. I love guys that swing for the fence and be Brando and fuck with movies. I know Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy had a Capone in him. He was involved with another project, being Capone, and I think he was just kind of eyeing what he could do and if he could still play the way he wanted to play, which he totally did in this movie. He's the most magnetic, part about it. It doesn't always successfully, navigate the elements that are there, the reality and the imagined. Like that's really a problem. I kind of went with it for a little bit. Like, hey, I'll take your hand. I don't need to be. You don't need to tailor anything to my experience.
Yeah,
like I don't need to know where I fucking am. Like spin me around just like this guy, and he's lost in the dark through, the progression of the movie. So it's gutsy for trying to do an off film subject. Like there's no story here really, but there's something I'm drawn to it about these guys with power and they get lost in the dark. And this guy didn't even know where he was, he doesn't even know. So there's something about that narrative that's romantic to me. And I felt like, I kind of dig that, I dig that in the early parts of the film, but I think it is a comedy. These are things that you shouldn't laugh at. Someone losing their mind.
Sure.
And like, these are, the stuff we're laughing at is what's breaking people's hearts, So there's this double-edged sword to what he's playing with all the time.
Trank was laughing his ass
but
off.
he's just blowing it off. He's like, I just want to do this crazy shit, man. Him with the diaper, man. Tommy gun. So and that's how I got people. I said, guys, it's a slower drama, but it's got a gold-plated Tommy gun. And I think everybody VOD'd it that night. So it's gonna get in the quarantine bump. This is not high. It's like a 2-boner for me, and I kind of want to. It's a 2-boner. It's like 1.5 bone with a half bone quarantine.
Yep. That sounds about right.
I want to love it, and I think it's going to be a cult film because it's just so bizarre and all the body horror stuff. And it's fun to be part of these projects. So, but Tom Hardy, baby,
good companion to Gotti, I think.
I prefer something like this to Gotti. Something straight and hilarious. I want to get down in the muck with the alligators.
Yeah. I would like to edit the two together to be like, when Coppola did the first 2 Godfathers and it was the Godfather saga.
Yeah.
This would be the Gotti Capone diarrhea squirt. Okay, so that's 2 bones bumped up from 1.5. Bishke went to 1.5, bumped up from 1, which that sounds like the right flavor to me because I was watching this and I'm like, I knew that it was bad and I knew that it wasn't. It was barely even a movie, but I couldn't look away from it. I would like go to the fridge to get LaCroix, and I did pause it. I'm like, you know what? I can't take my eyes off this thing. I need to see.
For some viewers, it's going to stick with you a little bit. Like I was thinking about some of these weird scenes, like grunting, walking like him.
It's going to be one of those weird cult movies that after this initial rush of dads that are going to be confused and upset watching it, once that dies down and like it gets a couple years on it, you're gonna see some people pop up here and there that are gonna be like, oh, I actually really liked Capone. I know, baby. It's a weird thing to admit, but I think there's something to it, you know. Like I think it is gonna have just a whiff of cult to it. But you can't, like, if you're having a midnight screening at like a film festival and you put this on, no,
deadly.
That's not the way to do it. You got to be like alone with your laptop, like deep in the night, just not believing what you're seeing.
If this doesn't hit the Irishman, you know, the guys that want to see the Scarface guys, who is it hitting? Like who's the audience for this?
I legitimately, truly am baffled by who this is for. It is for absolutely no one, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I'm the same. It's a one bone film through and through, but I am gonna give it that half bone quarantine bump because it was just so batshit. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, we've been hunting with this podcast, where it's like just completely misunderstood and misunderstanding its audience, just baffling productions.
Would have loved to hear an audience turn on this movie, because I think it would have happened.
Like a Burbank,
those are delicious
like a nice,
moments with this
juicy Burbank Theater 13 discount night Capone audience. Oh, it would just be a symphony of screams.
Yeah, I think they would have been on board for a bit, but once he shits himself for the third time, it would have been,
2 times, it's fine. Third time, now it's just disrespect.
What is he, Bugs Bunny?
Well, boys, we did it.
Capone's
Nobody
owned it.
vetted this one.
We got Tranked.
Brother Bishke's big claim that we're going to vet all these movies is not coming to fruition.
No, this is unvetted.
But I am glad that we went in and raw dogged this. Yeah. And I feel like everything is as it should be. Lucas woofed it as he should have.
Yeah.
Nathan was giving it that love and light, and Bishke and I were right in the middle of all that. It feels like I think we really gave it its due. But I mean, I can't recommend this movie.
No,
but
you can't.
I kind of want everybody to somehow see it.
People are you're gonna hate it or love it. I mean,
this would be a good double feature if you had this is the first movie Capone, and as the second movie Oscar.
Oh, the Stallone
Zone
mob comedy.
Yeah, just those back to back, just in one sitting.
This will be the shit in the punch bowl of any double feature that you come up with. And I don't know, like, just if you're curious at all about the shit that we've been talking about, there's no way to spoil this movie. I mean, Capone died. Everybody knows he's dead. Like, he dies at the end. Big deal. I want you, if anybody's curious about this, just put it on. Just see what's going on and see what utter bafflement looks like. Love seeing you guys, and I'm glad we went through this together alone.
Always together alone. Will we be seeing Christopher Nolan's Tenet in theaters this July? That's the $64,000 question.
Hazmat suits and N95 masks.
What will be the movie that brings us back to the theater, back to the edge?
Oh my God. What is it going to be?
I don't want to know, man.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll be back.
I feel so skeezed out in the theater, man.
We'll be back. A little more than a month away, guys. We can do this.
We'll be back stronger than ever, y'all.
Die for you, Lodgecasters.
Love and light, y'all.
Love and light.
Love and light.